We had a good session this past session, and I think that will provide a great baseline of where to begin our work this coming year.
MDOT presents the Extra Mile Podcast, Legislative Session.
Got to have the ability to get that product to market.
As long as you're performing, we want to be behind you pushing.
Welcome in to another edition of the Extra Mile Podcast Legislative Session presented by the Mississippi Department of Transportation. I'm MDOT Deputy Director of Public Affairs, Paul Catul. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Will Kraft, Public Affairs Director. You might notice the title change. Will, I want to officially welcome you to Public Affairs, boss.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Super glad to be here. I was working with you guys so much and enjoyed it so much, I just decided to come be a full-time part of the team.
There you go. We love it. All right, let's get right into it. Today's episode is being recorded on March 1st. The session runs pretty fast and heavy, so we want to mention that. And we also want to welcome a repeat guest, State Representative Charles Busby, who represents District 111. That's Jackson County since 2012. Thank you so much for coming into the MDOT studios to talk with us today.
Thanks for having me, and Will, congratulations.
Appreciate it very much.
So let's get into it. So what's going on with the session? Where are we right now, Representative Busby?
Well, yesterday was the deadline to get bills out of committee that originated in the other house. So that means the bills that came to the House from the Senate, we had to get them out of committee by yesterday. And the same thing with the House bills had to come out of Senate committees yesterday. So there was a little, political activity late yesterday evening as we put things on pause, and a handful of bills that were being watched closely by leadership down on the Senate side until we moved on finalization of our bills late yesterday afternoon. I think we got out of there about 5:30. Which is a little later than we typically get out, but now I think we only have 85 Senate bills because we worked the calendar pretty good last week. We worked the calendar pretty good. I think we got 85 Senate bills on the calendar, on the general calendar, that we have to take up in the next week and a half. So I think that deadline is a week from tomorrow.
I think you're right.
So we should have plenty of time to knock that out. And I've got my fingers crossed, guys, that we may actually wrap this thing up before scheduled sine die. Sine die is scheduled for April the 2nd. And, we perhaps could wrap it up a week early.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
What makes you say that? What are you seeing?
We're just that far ahead of schedule.
That's
awesome. We've got 85 bills, like I said, on the general calendar. We got some appropriation bills and ways and means and things like that as well. That doesn't include local and private. It's just the general bills, 85 general bills. And we get rolling on a couple of pretty good days. We can knock those out. So, if we saw fit to suspend the rules and move the deadlines, that would be okay with me.
I think everybody would. I know
definitely.
You guys spend a lot of time up here and jumping at the bit to get back home. Life doesn't stop back home just because you're in Jackson, I know. Well, you talked about all those bills and those deadlines. What are the big ones we're looking at? We have our babies, of course, the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund. There's capacity program talks. What all are we looking at?
Well, I think it's going to be a fantastic year for transportation. The governor came out last week or week before and with a tremendous program, $1.3 billion, getting that money over to MDOT and allowing us to be able to program that money over a period of years. I think that's the right approach. That's a way to do that. To go back into capacity projects, a lot of paving projects. The only thing that was left out of that program that I'd like to see addressed, and I've got the wheels in motion to do that, is multimodal. We have the opportunity through 2026 to get a lot of federal match money for multimodal, and I'd like to see us put some money into multimodal and leverage that. Each year we take about $10 million out of our highway budget, and we put that towards multimodal. And when we're talking about multimodal, we're talking about our ports, our airports, our rails, and the little bit of mass transit that we have around the state. So you start spreading out $10 million amongst all of those four types of entities, the 15 ports, all the rails we have, all the airports we have, and it just doesn't add up to much.
Sure.
So if we could get that and build a program with that over the next few years, I think that would be instrumental for our ports and our harbors, all of our multimodal entities. The other thing is I'm real proud of Harry Lee James with State Aid does a great job, and we have been able to get a continuous revenue stream for the local system bridge program.
Yes.
All right, so what we've done now, we had been putting $20 million a year in the local system bridge program, but that was the first dollars that as soon as somebody needed something, those were the dollars that they took. So they took that away, and so it really wasn't a steady revenue stream. So in 2018, we put 5% of the use tax, or the internet sales tax.
That's right.
Put 5% of internet sales tax towards local system bridge program. All right. It turned out to be, I'm not say more money that was needed, but it was more money than we expected. So like this past year, we brought in, where we have been putting $20 million in, we brought in $41 million.
Wow.
So we have put a tremendous dent on those bridges that we had 3 years ago, we had 540 bridges that were posted or closed in that program. Today we have 240.
Yeah, tapping away.
We have made a tremendous difference. So as we have begun to address that problem and bring solutions to fruition there, now Representative Trey Lamar, Chairman of Ways and Means, come up with the idea. Let's increase it by 1%. Let's go from 5% to 6%. And then let's split it between LSBP and state aid bridges, because we had not addressed state aid bridges. So now we've got about $25 million a year going to state aid and $25 million a year going to local system bridge program. I think it's a fantastic idea. He's a smart dude. He came up with another great idea. And I'm tickled to death to have him on my team. He's been right there the whole time since the 2018 special session. He's been using his intelligence to help us over here in transportation. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. On all those notes, right? Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. It's good to hear that transportation is the forefront of the conversation over there across the street, for sure. So, listen, autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, that seems to be a big topic of conversation. Last week we had Commissioner of Department of Public Safety, Sean Tyndall, over to talk to us. He was talking about new enforcement issues, but kind of in general. Can you talk about the conversation over there when it comes to that?
I can. I handled that bill myself. Actually, both those bills myself. You know, you guys brought us a bill over that would allow DOT to form some public-private partnerships in order to build out the EV infrastructure. So I don't want to confuse the two.
Right, sure.
It's a big difference in EV and AV, electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles. So the AV industry came to us, and when you look at the map of the southern states, there's a glaring hole right there where Mississippi is that have no AV regulations. So we need to get something in place, or we're going to miss the boat on that. The reason it's necessary is a trucker shortage across the country of about 80,000.
Wow.
That number is expected to increase to 160,000 by like 2026. So it's a major impact on our economy if we can't move those goods to market. So AV trucks are going to be the first ones that come. Well, you know, it's something that you've never dealt with before. So the issues become, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So we've done the best we could with the bill. We have worked with DPS and Commissioner Tyndall to get the language in there that we want. However, I put a repealer on that section of the bill. It's called Law Enforcement Interaction Plan. So we think we've got what we need in there, but I put a 3-year repealer on it, so we have to go back and look at it in 3 years. And because by then, there will be less things that we don't know because we don't know.
Sure.
So we will have educated ourselves a little bit more. We might need to tweak that a little bit in that 3-year period. We'll determine where our mistakes are, and try to tweak that. Now here at the last minute, there's been some concern from the insurance industry about it. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. I think we'll be able to hammer that out. It's my understanding that the Senate has passed our bill with a reverse repealer in it, passed the House bill. We've held the Senate bill on a motion to reconsider. I'll probably just let it die right there, and we'll take the House bill to conference and hammer out whatever final issues we have there and pass that out. But it's important to the commerce of the state of Mississippi that we get that bill passed.
Well, and I think, a lot of times we're talking about these EVs, and I'm talking about myself here. I look around and I'm like, man, we're 10 years, we're 20 years away. But I think while that may or may not be true, you guys.
Now, you're talking about EVs or AVs?
Well, a little bit of both,
Okay.
honestly. But, like you just said, those conversations really got to happen now, even if it is 10, 20 years.
There will. I took the committee to CAVS last spring. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it's the Center for Advanced Vehicular Systems at Mississippi State.
Okay.
Intelligent group of people there. I wanted the committee to get an idea of what the future of transportation looks like. Everybody agreed, just like you just said, that we believe that fossil fuels are going to be around here for a long time.
Right.
EVs are going to take a portion of the market, and so are hydrogen vehicles.
Yeah.
So the big question was not so much what the future looks like, but when is it going to look like that?
Yeah.
And when will we be prepared for that? So that brings a whole set of challenges. How do we get the money to maintain our roads and bridges when we're not using fossil fuels anymore, and fuel taxes being the number one revenue source that we've been using? And now we go to hydrogen or electric. How do we do that? Well, we handled the electric issue in 2018 in the special session, and we indexed.
Right.
We indexed that fee, and that fee has, because of inflation, has gone up from $150 to I think it's $161 now, something like that. And the hybrids went from $75 to $80 over that period of time. So it's moving with inflation.
Sure.
Small numbers now. But then I wish we had done the same thing with alternate vehicles, alternate fuel vehicles. Then we wouldn't have to worry about these hydrogen vehicles coming on. But I think we're going to eventually get to a RUC system, road usage charge system, which seems to be getting more and more common across the nation. The question is, how do we do that without imposing on people's privacy?
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be the big issue. It
Some
might
kind of
be
tax at the pump type.
It'd be a formula based on the gross vehicular weight of the vehicle.
Okay.
And the miles driven on Mississippi roads.
Okay.
Wow. That's a lot to think about.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty dynamic time to
No
be
doubt.
in transportation. So
I didn't think me and Will
enjoy
knew
it.
we were going to hear all about hydrogen vehicles today. But
I
this is pretty cool.
And that jumps off the page. And another, we kind of touched on this a little bit, and I know you don't have the finality of it's not quite there yet, but the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund, that conversation going on right now.
Oh, absolutely. That conversation is very active. I don't think there's any doubt that there's going to be another ERBR program. It's been amazingly successful. We have done a lot of wonderful things, and we've done it in places that tremendously impact commerce,
Sure.
tremendously impact our abilities to get goods to market, and we do that with that group that we put together, that council that oversees that is plugged into the businesses across the state.
right.
So I think it's working fantastically. It was a great idea that we come up with in 2018, and I think we'll see another big chunk put into that. And I think what you're going to see in the multimodum is something that looks very similar to that.
Okay.
I think you're going to have another team of people that are going to lead where that money needs to be spent. We've spent the last couple of months putting projects together from our ports, our airports, and our rail lines, and our mass transit, and we'll be able to rank those projects and see what kind of return we would be getting on those dollars. Again, leveraging the
Federal
80%
money, yeah.
federal money, and doing some really great things there in a program that looks just like ERBR.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
Chairman Busby, let's take things back down to your district. What's going on down there? I know there's a mega grant that we just got, but talk about that. Maybe some of the other projects going on.
The Highway 57 project is a huge impact for Jackson County. Glad to see that project underway. It'll be 4-lane in Highway 57 from Highway 90 on up, I guess, all the way to 26.
It's going far, yeah.
And that's going to be huge. Then we've got the widening and paving projects there. We got a paving project on 63 in Jackson and George County that is looking great. Our folks down on the coast doing a great job with that. And then we've got a widening project on I-10 over in Hancock-Harrison County, taking a portion of the interstate there that isn't already 6 lanes, it's 4 lanes there, and making it 6 lanes. That's going to be a tremendous project. And then one that we need to be looking for in the future, I hope to get an opportunity to participate in, is the widening of I-10 from Goche to the Alabama line. I think that's important. The biggest issue there is how do we take care of the bridge across the Pascagoula River.
Yeah.
I know that's a big deal. That bridge is a couple of miles long, and it's not going to be cheap to do. So we're going to have to, kind of get out of the box, try to find a way to finance that.
Yeah, I know that's been a booger for a while, trying to figure out what to do with that gigantic bridge. But it's such a critical, connector to everything.
It is, and when you have an accident there, it just backs up traffic forever. And because we're kind of funneling things together, going from 6 lanes to 4 lanes, it seems to be a place where we have a lot of accidents.
Sure.
So if we could maybe put another lane in each way there, I think that would help things tremendously. And also, another thing that's coming down there is the Welcome Center.
Oh yeah, that's right. Getting the new Welcome Center in.
Yeah,
Finally.
When you live near a Welcome Center, you rarely visit the Welcome Center.
Sure.
So I had a friend stop by there a couple of years ago, actually, and he calls me and he says, "Charles, I don't know if you've seen it. This is embarrassing. We got to do something about this." I go out and look at it, and he didn't take the story as far as it should. I mean, and so we were looking at making some repairs, and all of a sudden, boom, we find out that it's going to be replaced, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I know that'll be a welcome site, and I know there's plenty of other welcome centers that we'd like to do some work on too. So if you share that concern, you see in those around there, it is a focus. We are moving on and taking care of those to the best of our ability too.
Yes.
Well, we know you've got a lot going on. We'll be sensitive to your time here, but we certainly can't let you get out of here. You've got more other things in the fire that you're working on in the future. But wrapping up your time here as the chairman of the Transportation Committee, I know just last week that your members did a little thing for you at the end of the meeting, gave you a plaque, commend your service here. We'll just talk about your time as chairman.
Well, it's been super bittersweet that I chaired my last House Transportation Committee meeting last week, and I'll be moving on to hopefully continue to work with you guys. But I think the highlight of my time as commissioner, or not as commissioner, as chairman, was the 2018 special session. When I was first appointed to this position, I jumped in the car with MDOT, and we went all over the state. We visited everything in the state. We looked at bridges, we looked at bridge conditions, and we looked at pavement conditions. I learned a whole lot on that trip, not only about the condition of things, but how those things are done, how MDOT operates. And I came back and reported that we got issues on the state system, but they paled in comparison to the issues that we had on the county systems and the local systems. And it was kind of met with the sky is falling kind of rhetoric,
Sure.
And so they really didn't take me seriously. And then Secretary Chow called and said, "Hey guys, we've warned you about the condition of your bridges, and if you don't do something about it, then we're going to cut off the federal faucet." And things got real then. So we were able to get a special session in 2018 that focused solely on transportation, and that's when things really changed. And I was just very, very proud to be a part of that.
And I mean, literally that 2018 session, the majority of the seeming like the topics that we cover on this podcast originated from that session.
Yes, they did.
I mean, that
That's
was
right.
If not even just for Representative Busby, that will be a long time historic session for MDOT as a whole. For
I
sure.
think so.
No
I
doubt.
think so. Yeah.
Well, Chairman Busby, we really appreciate your service over there in the House, and excellent stuff.
No doubt.
Will, let's hit it.
Hit the food question.
Let's hit it.
So, and we had a great little full disclosure, we had a little great pre-podcast conversation about
did.
this. But a lot of times we've been on here, we talked about a favorite place, and there have been some excellent favorites. But now we're asking folks maybe if you had a new place, anything new recently.
Yeah. The new Italian place over on Manship, and I still can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
Polito Osteria.
Yes,
There we
Polito
go.
Osteria. Only eaten there a couple of times, and was with large groups, so they had a limited menu, just a couple of entrees to choose from. But it's my understanding that the chef there was the chef from Parlor Market, where when Parlor Market was open, they had a meal there called the Duck Two-Way.
Okay.
And it was my favorite. It was my favorite. So I'm hoping that I'll find it on the menu over at the new restaurant.
That's a perfect shout out. As a matter of fact, we'll double down on this one because my wife's birthday was this past weekend. She loves Italian food. I just happened to ask Paul, hey man, have you heard of a great new Italian spot or somewhere? And this is exactly the one he recommended. So we got a twofer on the shout outs for Polito Osteria.
That's it, yeah. And don't drink and drive, but it's located. There's a brewery in the same
Yeah,
same building.
right,
so
right.
one-stop shop right there. That's perfect. All right.
That's great.
Chairman Busby, we'll let you get out of here, but can you drop some contact information for us before you do?
Sure, absolutely. I can be reached at cbusby@house.mis.gov or Charles Busby, the number 4 Mississippi at gmail.com. Excuse me.
You got so many emails and contacts.
I do. I got about a half dozen of them. I have to try to figure out which one we need to throw out there.
Yeah, and
There we go.
hey, it's 2023, folks. You need to get in touch with the chairman. Give his name in Google. Something will pop up. I promise you. We'll get you to him. But again, thank you so much for being
Yes,
here.
sir.
man.
I
We
appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you, Chairman. We'll go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you to our listeners for tuning into the Extra Mile podcast. You can watch and listen to episodes by visiting gomdot.com/the extra mile. Follow us on social media at Mississippi DOT is the handle there. We want to thank our producer, Katie Hornsby, our editor, Drew Hall. They do a lot of work behind the scenes for us. And remember to drive smart out there on Mississippi highways.